Well, hello friends, and welcome back to the cabin. Since the last video, I'm moving a little bit slower, but I'm still moving forward. Anyway, I'm going to go down here. We're going to start cutting this log that I've got on the sawmill to make some siding for the workshop on the inside, because the cost of plywood is just too high. So we've got natural resources, we might as well use them, and I've got the time to do it, so I might as well do it, right? Anyway, let me show you what we're doing. I've got all of the wiring run down here now if you're new to this channel. And I've got some leftover insulation from building the juice shack. So we're going to use that. We're going to get a couple more rolls. And we're going to just kind of focus on the bottom floor of the interior of this workshop. Now, I can't do anything overhead yet because I don't have any floor joists. But the floor joist for the upper room is going to take some larger trees than I have cut. So I'm going to have to cut some down. But we're going to use the smaller logs to go ahead and make up the siding for the inside. And for those of you that may not know, when I cut that groove out on the side right here, this board will end up kind of looking like that on the side. So it will have a piece cut out where the next board, when I put in there, will be just flipped over, and it will, these two surfaces right here of the two boards will come out even, and one will be lapped over the other one. Now I know it's going to shrink a little bit and give me a gap, but it'll still be covered. And look who showed up today to help come cut the log.
Yeah, listen y'all. He got kind of down on his back. He swears he's good, but I had to come save the day because, I mean, what would a day be if I didn't save it, right?
You know, like I said in the last video, I wouldn't normally tell you because that's just the way that I am. I didn't tell her either. I think she came up here. You brought me supper.
I did, and he was walking, I mean, like this right here, and I said, Lord, what happened to you?
I told her, I said, now I know how it's going to feel when I get to be an old man. And I said, oh, wait a minute, I are one. But another thing that happened to me when I was building the cabin, and you all never knew it, but I hurt my rotator cuff, and it was about a year, took it a year. I couldn't even lift my arm up, so what I used to do was take my hand, I'd turn the camera on and I'd lift that drill up there. Once I got it in shape, I could let the other arm go and I could hold it up there, and I would drill the holes. That's when I was running wiring and putting up the sheetrock, and you all never knew it. So,
yeah, he is telling the truth on that because I would get tickled quite a few times.
Anyway, let's get this sawmill fired up and get this log cut. Well, friends, that's about all my back's going to be able to stand today, but we're going to get these cleaned off, get them put up, my blades put up because I put a new one on there, and then tomorrow we'll get out here and we'll saw another one. Well, I stopped by the lumber yard the other day and I picked up a Dado blade. It wasn't cheap. A set of blades cost $115, but that's a pretty good price to spend if I'm going to save a lot of money, you know, on putting the walls up on the inside or the siding or whatever you want to call it. So let me take you down here and I'll show you. I've already got it installed. Alright, there it sits down in there, and I've got it set at 5/8 of an inch. And then there was a small practice run that I made. So you can see it's going to do a really good job. Well, the other day when Jennifer came up here and helped me, this is what we ended up with. I pretty much have just 6 boards right there. This one has some wane on it that can be cut off. But you don't get too much out of a log once you have to scrap the outside of it. Now I did end up with one that's like 1.5 inches by 8 inches. So that can be used on something structural. We'll save it. We'll put it up in there in the new area that we have to dry in. What my intentions are, as I cut this off the mill, I'm going to run it through that Dado blade because I have to do both sides, and then I'm going to kind of cut it where it needs to be, or basically just shave the ends off. That way I can stack it in there a whole lot easier. So let's get the table saw out here and see if we can run these boards through. Well, maybe I won't get that table saw out here. I don't want to do it inside the workshop because the dust will just blow everywhere, but I can do it outside. But I feel it's starting to sprinkle, so I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and cut the ends off, get those stacked in there. We'll take the tractor, run down and get another log because I can actually get underneath and we can saw up another log, and then we'll just do both of them at the same time. Well, kind of sounds like rain, doesn't it? Mama, are you laying down taking a nap? You taking a nap? Yeah, he just wants to lay there and take it easy. Dolly, are you laying down taking a nap too? What is it? You see it? Have to get these out of the way so that I can bring another log in here. I'm kind of separating these so that they continue to dry. Well, I'd say we need to go grab us another log, start milling some more material. So really, these aren't log stops, friends. These are right here. But since I've got these and I don't load from this side of the sawmill because preferably that's how you would load it, at a loss for space up here. So I continue to load it from this side right here since I've got the tractor. But I decided to go ahead and throw these up. That way when I put a log on the sawmill, it doesn't roll off on this side, because I had that happen in the sawmill up there, and it's almost impossible to reach over there and try to get it out. Now, I did it up there with straps because I didn't have the grapple at that time, and the straps, you know, I could do it a whole lot easier. So if one fell over here, I would probably still have to use the straps because I couldn't get the grapple opened up and get it closed over here. Well, the pith is about the same, within 1/4 of an inch on each end, so I'm not even going to bother jacking it up. We're just going to start slicing and dicing. We'll stick it through the old Vegematic. You remember that commercial? Alright, these are some of the cut off pieces, and I'm going to make myself kind of like a top plate. That way I can go in underneath the edge. I'm going to leave it up just a little bit. I think, according to that measurement, if I just raise it to the top of that, I can slide it through there with no problem, and that should help keep from any kind of a kick up, and just help to guide it through. Yeah, I believe that's gonna work pretty good. That way it won't kick back on me as I run it through there. Now I've got to get this blade set the depth. We're going to go down a little bit. We're going to make a pass and see if we can get these two to right here to lay inside of each other. We need to go just a hair deeper. Raise that up just a little. Let's try that. Got just a little ridge because I'm scooted right up next to the fence, which actually breaks off when it's long, so see how this will work. Well friends, that looks like a pretty good joint right there. I've got plenty of room for shrinkage. I really don't have much more shrinkage than that really, but that will allow me to be able to overlap and have a flush wall on the inside. I just went in there and got this big chisel because it's pretty easy to take it off of this thing. Because I'm right up really close to the fence. I didn't want to get any closer because I didn't want to get into the blade, and I figured that I could just go ahead and break this little edge off right here. I could probably go get my little plane and do the same thing. I might just do that. Alright, check it out. Well, I think it worked out quite well. The board is bowed slightly, so when I put them together, then I'll have to bend the other end. But yeah, I mean, we're not going to have a board that's going to be perfect when it's poplar, because it's going to bow just a little bit. But this will allow me to put one over top of the other and be able to have a smooth surface. Even though I may get a little bit of a crack, I'm still going to have a smooth surface up and down. Well, I think that I've got 10 boards worked up in here now. And I also brought some insulation down in here to start. I think I'm going to start on this back wall over here. But I had to put up the equipment because it is thundering and it is getting ready to rain again. I didn't know how much debris I was going to have. So I think what I'll do is get a great big piece of black plastic and put down underneath that. That way I can just kind of fold it up and burn it. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to get in here while the getting's good so that I don't get wet. Well, good morning. So we got enough boards cut to do half of one wall, right? Only head high. So the first thing I thought, you know, I'm going to have to put up some insulation before we can actually put those boards up. So I'll take you down here and show you what I'm talking about. So this is the wall that we're going to do. I've got to get the saws out. But we're going to put insulation in here. I'm actually going to do the bottom because we still have to put floor joists up here. But I may go ahead and put insulation up there. That way I've at least got, you know, this area covered. And that way I can work in here throughout the winter time. So let's go ahead and get that stuff moved and we'll get this insulation put up. Set them over here for the time being. All right, we're ready to rock. Now let's see, I need 82 inches. You know, if you turn your insulation over this way, it's much easier to cut. I know a lot of people, and I used to turn it over, but I finally learned it's much easier to cut face up. Yeah, we'll get another 82 pulled off here. Now then, let's try that. See how that works. Now I believe this small piece will go right here. Well, I think that looks really nice, and we are now ready to start putting those boards up. But you know, as I was doing that, I got to thinking, I got a big surprise for you all. In order to see what it's going to look like, you're going to have to stay tuned till next week's video. Friends, thanks so much for stopping by. We certainly do appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.